Okay, awesome. I guess we'll start.
You want to start?
If you're ready. Okay. So, I want to welcome everybody who's here. It's so sad. A lot of our members went home for Sukkot.
No, it's a good thing.
But we really missed them. So we do. Yes. Real mistakes.
That's so nice. We're on Long Island. Well, my parents live. I grew up in Long Beach. That's very close compared to where you are. Wow, that's amazing. So you want to just start? What do you?
Yeah. So this is part of a great program that was called Systematic Avodah Initiative, and it's based on Rabbi Simon Jacobson's book 60 Days. Every single day there's a page to read and something to do, something to work on, something to improve, which really makes Elul and Tishrei a lot more alive. It's not just like, oh, I'll do tshuva, I'll change. It really makes it step by step. And we also give everybody a journal where they can record records of their growth. And a lot of people that do it multiple times get to see the growth over years. So that's really powerful, really, really powerful.
So special.
We also, for everybody that did their reading and their journaling, we have a gift. We actually, Baruch Hashem, we just moved our shlichus into a center, so it's no longer in my apartment, but the extra copies got sent over to the center. So if you message me or whatnot, and I'll definitely give you a copy. But we have the great schos. Neshamas.org donated Shar B'Tachon, translated with commentary, so we can all learn it. They do, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, it's from Chavas Alavavas. Yeah. So everybody's gonna get one with translation and some commentary and read it every day. Yeah, in the Chayenu.
Yeah, the Chayenu.
No, so this one
there's
is
different commentaries.
Yeah,
it seems
different.
like.
Oh, different. Oh, I have the regular one at home, but I like the Chayenu one. But
yes,
the first is of the Chayenu one.
That's beautiful.
That's so special.
So. Okay.
Yeah, I also want one. This is amazing.
I will keep both of you in mind. I'm so sorry. We moved Erev Rosh Hashanah and it just.
Baruch Hashem, you have more space in your house.
Yes.
Very
and now
nice.
we have a nice setup. Well, I'll talk to you about it after. Okay. Anyway, I would like to introduce. Oh, you're saying
I can move a little bit. Or maybe that's moving this thing. I don't know.
Should I move this? Is that?
That's good.
Is that better? Okay. So I would like to introduce Mrs. Leah Rubashkin. We met in person at the Chabad campus.
Yes, that was special.
That was amazing.
Yes,
and from what I heard from you, you really truly heard what our mission is and you believe in us. And
I think it's incredible. I really do. And I actually should take your card because a couple of times I mentioned.
Oh, really?
I have a son on shlichus on campus, so he has girls that come back to the community. And then just in general, it's such an amazing resource because girls come in, they get lost. There's like so much going on. You don't know what's what and to connect to different families. And so it's amazing.
So we have the great Sukkos. Have you speak for us? Thank you very, very much.
Glad to be here. Baruch Hashem. Sukkos is so special. So we are so lucky. I always end up speaking a lot of the times during a season. It could be before Hanukkah, it could be before Pesach, it could be during Svira, it could be whatever it is. And I always try to connect whatever I want to speak about or whatever they want me to speak about to the incredible resource and gift that we have called the Luach, the Yiddish calendar. Why is the calendar so special? Because we know every yontiv and every special season or set of days, we have Sphira days, we have Elul, we have like the 3 weeks, not so happy, but also special. We have all the Yom Tovim. And what's so incredible is that we're not just remembering something, an event that happened that we want to celebrate. We're not just trying to elicit certain things from that time frame, but Hashem actually gives us in the Sinas Kayak, He gives us the power. He throws down into the world those hamshachas, those energies that we need to really accomplish what we're meant to accomplish. So it's really like, it's such a gift. I mean, when you think about the different Yom Tovim throughout the year, and of course we're going to talk a little bit about Tishrei, but even the other times of year, there's so much power that's brought into the world during those days that it's really, you know, like the Rebbe says about the month of Tishrei, that like, okay, we packed up all this stuff, and now in Cheshvan it's time to unpack and to use out these different things that we got. And really, every single Yom Tov, every single day that we have, that Hashem gave us like a special koyach with that day, it's that koyach to bring down that hamshacha that Hashem puts into the world and really use it throughout the whole day. So whether it's Simcha, or whether it's Kabbalah Sol, or whether it's Chayras, a Pesach, or whatever it is, that koyach that comes down is really strong enough to keep us going the whole year. And the question, of course, is, how do we internalize it? How do we, and like now, we're sitting in the Sukkah, and, you know, we're going to talk in more detail in a minute about it, but we're just like enveloped in Hashem's Shrina, in the koyach of the protection that Hashem gives us, and it's so incredible. So we know that Tishrei is like a ladder. Sorry. Tishrei is this incredible ladder that we have, which starts, of course, really with Elul, this preparation that we have, and then the different things that we learn throughout Tishrei. And actually, when I think of this ladder, it always reminds me of the story of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev. It was in Barditchev. I'm sure a lot of you heard this story in Barditchev, where there was a Yid who found out that was a Yiddish mishpacha was thrown into a pit because they couldn't pay their rent, and he couldn't take it. How could I prepare for Yom Kippur, knowing that this family is suffering in the pit? So he took it on himself with a real Mesiras Nefesh, because it's Erev Yom Kippur, to raise the money to get them out of the pit. And he's thinking he's going to this Yid and that Yid, and he's getting these little cupcakes, this little money, but he needed a tremendous sum. And he's thinking, how am I ever going to get this money together? And he thinks of this idea. He goes into this kretschma, and he sees these Yid and Nebuch that are not yet doing what they're supposed to do, and they're busy playing cards, and their preparation for Yom Kippur, as if they even knew it was Yom Kippur, they were busy in this tavern. And he starts going over to them and telling them about this. Now, they knew it was Yom Kippur or Erev Yom Kippur, and they knew that this guy should really be home preparing or whatever, and they saw that he's trying to make this money, and so that in order to have a little fun, they said, oh, sure, we'll give you money. You drink this whole quart of mashka, and we'll give, and of course we know the story. He goes to the place, and at the end, he's like, knows that he's really not going to make it to davening, and he says, just take me to the shul. And so Baruch Hashem, on the way, they pay the pirates, and the family gets out, and they take him to the shul, and he collapses, and he falls into this deep slumber, and he's out. Meanwhile, all the polished congregants walk in all ready. They've already had their sudais, and they're beautifully dressed, and they're getting ready for Kol Nidre, and they come in and they see this drunkard who passed out. Erev Yom Kippur, what's he doing? He's drinking, like they thought who knows what about him. And they all like poo-poo him, and they go to take their seats, and they're getting ready, and the whole shul is getting ready, and they take out the Sifrei Torah, and this guy hears a commotion in his deep slumber, and he says, he gets up, and he sees the Sifrei Torah out, and so he thinks it must be Simchas Torah, so he starts screaming, Ata Harei Soladas, and everybody goes crazy because they're ready for their big moment with Hashem, and he's like this drunkard that's, anyways, they're like making who knows what, they're giving him curses, and they're giving him a hard time, and Reb Levi Yitzchak calms them down and says, don't worry, he's taka with all his Mesiras Nefesh, he's taka up to Ata Harei Saladas, because with his Mesiras Nefesh, he was able to go past all the Avodah that everybody was going to do for Yom Kippur. With his Mesiras Nefesh, he was able to jump ahead from doing such amazing mitzvahs to help this family. So we see that there's a ladder. There's a step 1. There's a step 2. There's a step 3. There's a progression of what we're meant to do in the days of Tishrei. And now with Sukkos and Simchas Torah, we're getting to culmination of that. So just to talk a little bit about the different levels, we have Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah, we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, and we're already like humbled a little bit from Tishrei. You know, we've looked into our maisim, we realize we're not so good in this, we're not so good in that, we're trying to do tshuva during Elul. We come to Rosh Hashanah, and of course we're getting ready to crown Hashem our King, but we're going in a way that we're a little bit put into our place where we are and what we're up to and whatever. We're humbled. And we have the shofar, and the call of the shofar, the cry from the depth of our heart that Hashem should be our King, is like coming from a humble, deep place. We really try to like muster that feeling of where the Eved and Hashem is the Adon. Hashem is the King. Really very powerful. And you know, living in Muncie, so we always try to come throughout Tishrei to the Rabbi. We come to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Simchas Torah. We come to be in Crown Heights, and it's like such an awesome thing to be in 770 and to just you really feel the malchus, the malchus and the yearning and the ability to have that schus to crown Hashem our King. Then we go to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, of course, is tshuva, and the power of Yom Kippur to to cleanse ourselves to such a point where, like Hashem says, I'm going to clean you up. I'm going to make you white like snow. And we know, like in Tanya, it says that there are certain things that only Yom Kippur could be mechaber. We could do tshuva and Elul, and we could do all the tshuva we want. We could say Kriya Shema Shalmita and like with a lot of kavanah and really try to work on ourselves. But there are just certain things that Yom Kippur comes and we're clean, we're nice, we're like, it's an amazing thing, you know. If you think of all the different justice systems in the world, for a person to be forgiven to the point that everything is expunged. I learned a lot of legal terms in my experiences. So there's a word called expunged. Expunged means it's like washed away. It hardly happens. By us, every time we try and reach out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, reach out to do tshuva, it's mamish expunged. That's it. We go a clean slate. We start in Yom Kippur, and we're just with Hashem. We have that close. So what gives us the opportunity to have such a schus? Like, what do we do on our end? If you think about it, Yom Kippur, we're really breaking away from Gashmias. We're not eating, we're not drinking, we're trying to be into our inner pneumistic self of connecting with Hashem in a very clean way. The men wear the kitlach, they're dressed in white, and this whole thing of trying to be a little bit above the Gashmias, really, and to get to that place. Sorry. So that Yom Kippur gives us that ability to really get to a place where we're a little higher. You know, during the year, as much as we try to connect in a ruchnistic way, we're really distracted and bogged down and whatever with Gashmias. It's all over. And of course, our job is to make a dirah b'tachtenim, to work with Gashmias, to bring down Hashem. But sometimes it's very distracting. You know, you have to, and everything's for good purposes, but you know, you have to find the sheikhel. You have to find the right, you know, food to make for yantiv. Even in the realm of mutter dika things and kedusha dika things, it's a distraction. It's, you know, it's keeping us away from our real pneumius. And it gets to the point where sometimes we're not really sure, like, is the recipe more important than the doing the tshuva? You know what I mean? It it gets confusing because we have a lot of people to feed and we want them to be happy. We want the meal to be yontif. And so here we come Yom Kippur and we're like withdrawn from all that. We're fasting, we're not eating, we're not drinking, we're in shul a whole day. And you know, as a kid, when I first started fasting, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to eat and I'm going to be in shul and I'm going to have to daven the whole day. And now, a little wisdom and a little age and experience, it's like almost the easiest time to fast when you're just like trying to get into the words of the tefillah and you're trying to like reach out in that kind of way, because that's really part of the whole purpose, is to break away from all your, cravings and hunger and all that stuff and try to connect closer to Hashem. And it actually shows us what the pneumius really is. It's really something that like our pneumius halev, the part that what we really, really want to be doing is we really want to be close to you, Hashem. And we really want to be one with you. And we really want you to be our king. And we really want, but so much times we find that the Gashmias just interferes. So the pneumius is really where we are and what we're all about. So in order to really get to that pneumius, how do we even figure out what the pneumius is? Sometimes it's a little bit foggy what the pneumius is. Let's say they use an example of a person that's going to work. Person going to work is called a worker. But really, is that the pneumius of the person? The person is going to work. Let's say he's a carpenter. He's going to. So is the person a carpenter? I remember I don't know if it was a letter or a thing on a dollar line or something, a woman asking the Rebbe if she has permission to be a seamstress. And the Rebbe said to her, be a woman that sews, don't be a seamstress. In other words, who are you really? Are you that construction worker that's working? This guy that's going out 6 o'clock in the morning to hack holes, to build buildings and to do his job, as he's not doing it for a love of what he's doing it. He's doing, first of all, the inner reason he's doing it is to make money. But that's not really even the inner reason. Really, the reason why he wants to make money is because he wants to buy food and be able to have a parnasa to be able to live. And really, he really doesn't want to just buy food. He really wants to feed his family and take care of his family. So the whole reason why this worker, this construction worker, wants to start banging nails into wood is not because he wants to do it because that's his aspiration. His aspiration is really to feed his family and take care of his family because he loves his family. The same thing is with us. We get carried away with what we're doing, and we don't go down to the pneumistic reason of why we're doing it. You know, a lot of times when my kids were growing up, so my husband was very busy at work. And a lot of times he would come home, they'd already be sleeping. And once or twice I heard my kids complaining, Tati's never home when we go to sleep or whatever. And I had to sit down with them and remind them why he's going to work. He's not going to work because he loves to do whatever he was doing in that moment. He's going to work so that you could have toys and you could have food and we could have fun and spend time together and sometimes even go on vacation. Tati's doing this because he loves us and he wants us to be able to have everything good. So the same thing is with us. Sometimes we get caught up with the outside things that we're up to, when really we have to tune in a little bit more into the reason why we're doing all these things. So, so when we come to Yom Kippur and we get this inspiration, we come out of Ne'ilah. I mean, Ne'ilah to me is like, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. It's just like so empowering and it's so beautiful and you feel like you feel so connected. And of course, we're so blessed to learn Chassidus, Ne'ilah by the whole world is the gates are closing. You better get those last tefillos in because the door's going to get locked and that's going to be it. And Chassidus teaches us, yes, the door is locking, but the Eibishter is locking us in with him. He only wants to be with us. Chassidus is just so incredible that it gives us such a feeling of connection to Hashem. It's just, there's nothing like it. And we come out of the Ne'ilah feeling Ein Eidem Levadei, there's nothing else besides Hashem, and I just want to get closer to Him. And it's an interesting thing because it says about the Yidden, there's a pasuk, Ki panoi alai oirech, that like we're kind of like back to back. Like sometimes we're giving, Hashem's complaining that the Yidden are giving him their back. Instead of like being face to face, sometimes a person can do Torah mitzvahs, but because we're distracted with so many different things, it's like we're doing it, but it's like you have two friends. Two friends could be really close and really friendly with each other, but if they're back to back, if they're not facing each other, so the friendship kind of gets distracted. It kind of gets like, it's kind of like distant because you're not talking to each other and spending time with each other and socializing with each other. You're kind of back to back. So the pasuk is trying to tell us, when you're doing mitzvahs, don't get distracted. Don't like kind of turn a shoulder on Hashem, but panim el panim. And it's interesting that Yom Kippur reveals that pnimius, and we're in a position of panim el panim, takadosh baruch hu, when we're in that kind of situation. So now it's Sukkos, and Hashem is revealing his love for us. I mean, we have the Sukkah, we're remembering the Anani Akaveh, that we, after going out of Mitzrayim, we're protected in all kinds of ways. And it's a very interesting thing. Al Pi Din, how is a Sukkah kosher? What are the wall dimensions you need? You need at least 2.5 walls to make a Sukkah kosher. So you could have, let's say, the L of the Sukkah, and then a little piece like this, and then schach on top. And even if all this is open, it's still kosher. If you look at an arm has 2 longer pieces and 1 shorter piece. Hashem is hugging us. That is the hug of Hashem. And that symbolizes that when a person is in a Sukkah, when a person is like surrounding himself with the hug of Hashem, he has that protection. It says Hashem silcha. Hashem is our shadow. Hashem is like, he has our back. He's there for us. He's right with us. Also says, what do we do on Sukkot? We're in the Sukkah, and then we take the Daled Minim. And the Daled Minim, it explains that the Daled Minim, 4 Minim, stand for the 4 letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. I'm not going to go into all explanation of that, but we take that unity of Hashem in the Sukkah, and we know that the Daled Minim themselves are the unity of Klal Yisrael, and we bring it into the Sukkah. We try to shake, at least in the Sukkah, right? I mean, if you're on Mifsayim and there's no Sukkah, it's one thing, but when we try to shake the little Vanessa, we try to do in the Sukkah. And we try to take this unity of Hashem with the unity of Klal Yisrael, having Hashem's hug and his protection, and we bring it to our heart, right? When we shake it, and we bring it back to our heart. My husband, like rings in my ears, this whole idea, okay, bring it back to your heart, bring it back to your heart. And really, this is what it's all about, is really internalizing all these things that we're learning throughout the Yom Tovim and trying to bring it back into our heart. So this is the first mitzvah, Sukkos. I mean, not first mitzvah because we're doing whatever, but the next big thing that we have after getting this close connection with Hashem by Ne'ilah is to be busy with the Sukkah. Let's now get busy with the Sukkah. And really, sorry, this is Hashem wanting to help us internalize this feeling, this pneumistic feeling of being close to him. And it says, Tishru b'Sukkah. You're supposed to sit in the Sukkah, right? So the Chachamim say, what does that mean? It doesn't just mean that, okay, you can't stand in the Sukkah, you can only sit in the Sukkah. That's not really what it means. It means Taduru. You're supposed to make the Sukkah like your home, like your house. And to bring everything that you've internalized throughout this time into a pneumistic way, into your home, into your heart, and to make this something that's part of you. Now, a lot of times, what gets in our way from really becoming the people that we want to be, much more ruchniistic, time and space. We have time. It's okay. When we're davening, we feel very close to Hashem. When it's a yontiv, when it's a Shabbos, when it's a time to be ruchnius, we're ruchnius. But, if I'm on vacation or I'm doing something else, so it kind of like fades away, or we're not necessarily as machmir as we would be, other times. Then we have space when we're in a shul. When we're at home, then it's easier for us to do. But when we're out or out doing different things, so, hey, what's the big deal? I won't wear, pantyhose when I'm by the lake. I'll put my feet in the water and I'm using some example, whatever. I'm meaning that Hashem is putting us in the space of Yontiv, in the time of Yontiv, in Sukkos, in the space of a Sukkah, and saying, even in time and in space, there's this concept of being connected. It's Tedurin, wherever we are, wherever we're living. And it's an interesting thing. I was learning about this, and it reminded me, of course, Pesach time, we learn about chametz and matzah, and how chametz is gaiva. We're getting very full of ourselves. We have this big bread that's rising and rising and rising. Comes Pesach, we want to learn a little humility, a little humbleness. We want to be a little bit more humble, whatever it is. So for 8 days, for the time of Pesach, we're going to eat only matzah. Hashem says no chametz, and Chassidus teaches us in an avodah way that's you're trying to break your yeshus and be a little bittul and whatever, and yet comes after Pesach, and we're right back to the chametz again. So the Rebbe explains that we take that time of Pesach to really consolidate and make real for ourselves this aspect of bittul. But if a person would eat matzah all year round and he would be bittul and whatever, you could come to a place where you're thinking that you're a nobody and you're not worth anything and you're not. The Rebbe teaches us that after Pesach, after you've internalized all this humbleness and after you've gotten through all this stuff, then you could take on the world and you have enough chametz to have a stolz. You have a Go'in Yaakov. A Yid is not meant to be a lowly, kind of guy that's a nebachdik, a person that can't stick up for himself or doesn't know what's what. They have to, on one hand, have the bittul, but on the other hand, they have to represent Hashem. So they have to have a certain stolz, a certain strength to themselves, a certain Gaon Yaakov, and then they could go to the world. And it's very similar over here. Here we have these two ideas of, on one hand, we need to use the Gashmias. On the other hand, we need to use these Yom Tovim to consolidate our Ruchnias. But we have to come out of the world and understand that we're using Gashmias for the right thing, and we're trying to make it in a shleimistic way, right? So we have Sukkos, we have this Pneumius, we have this connection to Hashem, we have this hug from Hashem, we have the schach, which is the shadow, the silcha, Hashem silcha. We have all these inyanim, and really this time is meant to really take it all in, and then to use it throughout the year, like the Rebbe says. Okay, now it's time to unpack all these different midos that we learned. Now it's time to unpack. So I remember while we were going through our situation with my husband, and we realized that we needed to really strengthen our bitachon, we were trying to figure out, okay, so how do you take it from here to here to here, to actually doing something with it, right? So many times we learn something and we have it makes complete sense in our head, but how do we make it that our heart could react automatically in that kind of way? So as we were going through this thing, we realized that a very important way to do it, I would say it's like maybe 2 or 3 different concepts that we use. Concept number one, which is not a new one, is the learning. Every mitzvah that we do, whether it's kashrus, whether it's Shabbos, whether it's bitachon is a mitzvah. And just like every other mitzvah, we have to actually learn about it in order to do it. You can't keep Shabbos and just say, okay, I'm benching lift, I'm keeping Shabbos. No, you have to learn the halachas. You have to know how you make tea on Shabbos and how you do this and how you do that. It's a whole whatever of things to do. And when you learn the halachas, you know that you're keeping it the right way. So with bitachon also being a mitzvah, it's a very similar thing. So as we were going through this situation, and we knew we would need very strong bitachon, and really it works in every single midah that we're trying to accomplish, or even a mitzvah that we're trying to accomplish. The first step is always learning. It's very easy to get inspired by a class and to be wowed by a good mefarish, or to learn a sikha and just be blown away. But unless there's a continuation to that, you can't get to Maisa Hua Ikar. You can't get to really incorporating it, internalizing it, because, you know, like I said before, life is very distracting. We have things to do. We have the lessons to prepare for teaching, and we have kids to take care of, and we have meals to make, and we have all kinds of things going on. So it's very hard to keep the momentum of an inspirational word to help you keep going for a long time. The only way you could do that is to take the inspiration and to put it into a sefer, or into a phone hookup, or into a something that will really bring it down into what you're all about and where you want to go with it. So that's thing number one. Second thing is, one of the things that makes it difficult for us to really do what we really want to do in our Avodas Hashem is because, I always say this, my husband's not so like whatever about this comment, but I always say that Hashem is great at the props. I once heard a joke about a guy, he walks into a restaurant, and he says to the owner, who's the mashkiach, who's the hashkacha here? So he shows him this plaque on the wall, and it actually has a picture of a very pious looking guy, and he shows him the tu'udah, and the guy says to him, listen, if this guy was standing here and you were sitting up there, it would be very easy for me to believe that everything's good, you know? We're so like dazzled and excited and tempted by Gashmias. And I'm just talking about permissible things. I'm not talking about some things that we're not supposed to be looking at or dealing with or whatever, but it's so easy, the props. Hashem is so good at the props. Like, all this is really props. It's really like Einaid Muvade. It's all Hashem. It's a nitzvah Elokim. Like, each thing has something from Hashem in there, but it's all made for us. It's the setting. It's the props in the background where we're supposed to take all our things and make a dirif tachtenim, but it's really all Eibishter, right? So it's very distracting, and it's very hard to take all this learning that we're doing and to put it into like the practice the way we want to do it, because of all these legitimate distractions. So as you're learning, you're becoming more in tune to Ruchnius. But as you're living, you're seeing how Hashem is really with you in a very close way. Like, if you really open up your mind to Hashgacha Pratis, you know, to things that happen to you, to things that, times where Hashem really, like, heard your tefillah, like, you know, I was on the way here from Muncie, and we made up to meet by my son's house, and I needed a parking spot. So I'm just thinking, actually, I told my husband, I said, you know, let's go around this way because I think we'll find a parking spot. There was a spot right in front of the door. Right in front of the door was just waiting a parking spot. Now somebody else would just say, oh, wow, I'm so lucky. Wow, that guy must have pulled out right before I came in. But I'm already like so in tune to like these kind of things, because my life like gets run by a series of Hashgacha Pratisim that I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Hashem. Like, we don't even have to schlep it so much. Like, it's just like to the door. When the more you start opening up your eyes to these things that Hashem is doing to you, you open up a whole different world. It's incredible. You put on these glasses and things start happening, and you start realizing, like, you know, I don't know, all kinds of different areas from A to Z, from the biggest things to the littlest things. I like to tell my kids, you know, Hashem does hashgacha pratis, but it's like in a package with a bow, with the ribbons, everything is like taken care of. It's not just stam, you know? And I think the more we see that, and because really, how do we get connected to Hashem? How do we build that connection? How do we internalize that hug? We internalize the hug by realizing how Hashem is really hugging us all the time. And when we realize his presence is with us all the time, it's like, whoa, like this is incredible. If Hashem is reaching out to me, like let's say, you know, you meet a girl. Let's say you're going to seminary, you meet a girl, and this girl really takes a liking to you, and she doesn't know what to do first for you. She's always doing nice things or whatever. You can't help but become friendly with her because she's friendly with you. And so when you are realizing that Hashem is so involved in your life from a day-to-day, like from the most minute things, I mean, think about it, Hashem, who recreates the world every single second, billions and trillions of creations, and he's busy with little me trying to get what I need to get in the most beautiful way. And it's like, it's mind-boggling. The creator of the world is busy with me that I should get a parking spot. I mean, really? It's unbelievable. So then I feel like, wow, Hashem is investing so much in this relationship that he wants to have with me. Shouldn't I be giving back at least my little minute amount that I could, you know? And so I think when we're, sorry. When we're trying to internalize all these lessons, I think that the core thing, and I always laugh, all roads lead to bitachon in my life. So whenever I speak about anything, somehow it always gets back to bitachon. But when we realize how Hashem is so with us, it's like, it's unbelievable. Like we want to have a connection to him because he just found me a parking spot. I mean, of all the trillions of things he's doing, he found me a parking spot. I mean, like, he made it happen. And then you think like, wow, Hashem really loves me. And I really want to do this for him because he asked me to do it. There's a story told about Einstein. Einstein's this big professor, this big scientist, and he's giving this lecture for hundreds of students in the university. And these kids know nothing about what he's saying. He's talking all these lofty concepts and all these big things. They have no clue. They're trying to scribble down any kind of word that they recognize. How could the seichel of an average college student or even a brilliant college student compare to Einstein? And so they're trying to do their best, and he's giving a lecture and they're clueless. And then in the middle of the lecture, he turns to somebody in the front row and he says, could you do me a favor? I forgot to bring some water. Could you go out and bring me a drink of water? So the student runs to go get him water. He comes back, he puts it down, and Einstein thanks him. And from that time on, he has like a special connection between the student because he asked him to do something and the student did it. So imagine HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem. He's like so beyond us, it's not even funny. We're learning Torah, and we're lucky if we understand like a percentage of it that's like whatever. But when Hashem asks us to do something and we do it, we can make that connection. We know we're making that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're making that amazing connection with the creator of the world that's constantly recreating it every minute. What could be greater than that? So when we're struggling to like, I can't believe that I forgot to do chitas. I'm so tired. I don't want to do it. And we stop and we say, okay, we're going to do it. And Hashem even is like, blesses you, and it's like a short chumash, you know? So we're going out of our comfort zone and we're saying, okay, Hashem, this is what you want from me. I'm going to do it. And the amount of not only Baruch Hashem, we get the schusim that we get, but we're strengthening a muscle that we have called our neshama. And when we strengthen that muscle and we get that closer connection with Hashem, so it's something that next time comes more natural. And so as we were going through this crazy story, this journey, or whatever you want to call it, this challenge, this opportunity, so we found like in the beginning, it was very stressful and it was very hard. It was hard when we got negative responses to bounce back. I shouldn't say we, I'll say me. My husband was on another level altogether. I guess the men get an opportunity to learn more Chassidus, so it gets in faster or something, I don't know. In any case, but after moving that muscle, after trying to really live with what you're learning and really internalizing it, it starts to become more second nature. It starts to become something, in America, people like to say, fake it till you make it. By Yidden, we say, fake it till you awake it. Because by Yidden, we have it all in us. By a guy, they have to fake it because they don't have it. They have to have tools because they don't know how to use their own whatever. We don't need tools. We have it in ourselves. We have all the things that we need. It's inside. It's inside of us. And when we want to encourage ourselves to do something, yes, we have the Teichlei Lishma Balishma. Sometimes you have to push ourselves to do it, but it's not an outside exterior thing. It's something that's really within us. And when we use these different Yom Tovim to chap on all these different midas, to stuff the suitcase with all these different things that we're learning throughout the month, we're really not only not getting any sleep because we're doing all this stuff, but we're actually stuffing our suitcases with the ammunition and the inventory and the amount of kayach that we're going to need the whole year. So it's really a tremendous opportunity for us. And we should really try to take on as much as we can to really stuff it all in, because it's going to come, all the excitement of Tishrei is going to be over and the winter's going to start. Then we'll be drudging through the snow and it won't be easy to do this or that. But we will have Simcha and the Sukkos, and we'll have Kabbalah Sol, and we'll have the opportunity to know how to do tshuva. We'll have all these different things that we have from Tishrei. And in between, we'll have different kaikas to stuff in, to supplement throughout the year with the other Yom Tovim and the other special days and Sfira and all the empowering days of the calendar to help us through the year till we get to the next Tishrei, the next Elul, the next Tishrei, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us this opportunity to really help us. It's really an unbelievable thing, because if you think about it, when you just look at what we need to accomplish on a black and white piece of paper, it gets overwhelming. What do you mean? Like, I'm supposed to take this time now and go through all the days and figure out what I did like this, but Hashem is giving us these hamshachas, throwing down these kaiches for us to do it. He's holding our hand and helping us do it. And right now, he's hugging us. So what's better than a hug from Hashem? There's nothing better than that. And that hug, we get to put in the suitcase and take out in Cheshvan and in Kislev and in Teves and in Shvat, all the way throughout the whole year, and to use the kaiches that Hashem gives us now to encourage us to keep going further. So I want to wish you a good Yontif, and we're about to embark on the Simcha Paritz Geder, and what we accomplished Yom Kippur through all the Yira and the davening and the connection. Now we get to do with our feet, with our Simcha, and with our dancing and our Simcha and our L'chaims. And I was telling my husband, we were discussing on the way here about Simcha and about how it's not easy to be living in these last Golas days. And we were talking about living with intention, living L'chaim v'lay l'maves, not just l'chaim. L'chaim, Baruch Hashem, we're alive, but we should be alive not just because we didn't die. We should be alive with the chayas. We should be alive with not just stagnantly like zombies going through the week, but we should really live with an intention of a kavana, of encouraging ourselves and our families to be b'simcha, to have simcha sachayim and simcha shel mitzvah, and really make this internalizing a real thing and bring it from our head to our heart. And we could do it. We have the kayach, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us even more kayach. So l'chaim v'lay l'maves. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. If anybody wants to ask any questions, I don't know if you want to tape it, but.
You mentioned there were three points. One was the learning, one was the
Right.
seeing the practice, and
Right, and I forgot what the
the
third one was. No, I thought of it on the spot. Usually I say two, but when I was speaking, I thought of a third one. I wanted to share it with you, but now I remember.
Anyway,
That's more. Yeah, that's more than that's. I'm telling you, it's really such a gift to be able to just open your eyes up to see the good. So many times when you're in a hard nisayon or just life in general, you're so bogged down with the hardships of it that it's hard to see like what Hashem is really doing. I mean, in my case, my kids were growing up normal. I mean, there were so many brachas that we saw, and we tried to really concentrate on that so that we wouldn't get stuck and in the quicksand. And the Sayan could be very easily a quicksand that just sucks you in. So when you look at the
so real and looks so.
Oh Hashem. Oh Hashem. What?
It would be like quicksand. What's a switch?
Well, this is the switch. This is what the switch is. The switch is that while you're going through whatever nisayon you're going through, there's tremendous brachas in your life. Like, let's say I'm sitting there trying to have my husband where he was in a place called prison. I'm home with the kids. The kids are growing up. Shabbos is happening. Yontif is happening. There's so much happening, whatever. So to see the good in what was going on was meaning my kids are normal. They're growing up normal. They don't need a therapist. They don't need a psychiatrist. They're not on any medication. They're growing up normal. We have a normal, functional family, even though my husband's not home. So that whatever nisayon a person is going through, they have their health, they have parnasa, there's always things that they could look at and say, wow, you know what? My nisayon is A, B, and C. Aleph, Beis, Gimel. But look at all the bracha that I have. And Hashem wants me to concentrate on the bracha, because what's the scary thing of a nisayon is that a person feels like they're abandoned, like nobody's Hashem, like what's going on, like why isn't this happening? Like what why did you do this? Like how could you do this to us? Like we're so this, we're so that, we're such tzaddikim, we're so whatever it is, right? And if you get into that victim kind of mode, then you lose sight of all the blessings that you have. I have a job. I have parnasa in the house. I have simcha. I have my family surrounding me. I have my friends. Every nisayon has their things that drag them down, but the person is also surrounded with things that could pull them up. So a person has a choice. Do I want to be dragged down, and do I want to lie underneath my bed, moping my situation, or do I want to take the brachas that I'm seeing Hashem giving me, know that Hashem is doing it, and remember, Aleph stands for Emunah, right? Emunah means Gam Zulateva. It means whatever happened today. What? No, Gam Zulateva is Emunah. How do we know that? Because it's something from the past. Bitachon means, okay, Hashem, I'm mekabel ba'ava, everything that you did till this second. Now, moving forward, I'm going to have bitachon that you're going to do, what's the Rebbe always say? Taiv hanira v'hanigla. Revealed good. It's not enough that I look in a microscope and I see, wow, really, if I'm really looking deep enough, I can see that this misery that I'm living through, there must be a purpose to it. That's good for yesterday. But moving forward, Hashem wants us to daven that it should be Taiv Hanira Vanigla. Okay, Hashem, you didn't, person doesn't have kids. You didn't give me a baby till now. I'm davening. I don't care what the doctors say. I don't care what this says, that says. I am with you, and you are higher than any teva could ever be. Yeah.
So, how do you stop your brain from tricking you and saying, well, maybe the reason I didn't have kids, or the reason this didn't happen, all of these years, is because it's better for me, and Hashem knows it's better.
Right.
Therefore, I should accept it instead of fighting against it.
Right. So
it wouldn't be a bracha if it happened.
Right. So that's good. That's good if you really don't want what you want. But if you really want what you want, then you know that Hashem wants to give it to you. Hashem wants to give us everything. He's just waiting for us to ask. How many stories from the Baal Shem Tov, from the tzaddikim do we have that, the one comes to mind now. The Baal Shem Tov goes out, my Shabbos, and he goes with the horses and with Gershon Kitavar, and they go with the horses and they land in this place and they eat the guy out of house and home, and the guy is forced to daven Hashem. I mean, you're the third partner. There's no food here. I need to feed my kid. And it's all because he never asked. He was very complacent. He was very happy. He was a Talmud Chacham. They didn't have enough food in the house. Hashem wanted to give him an Aisha of Ashiras, but he never asked for it, so they never got it. So a person has to have emunah. He has to be makabel ba'ava, everything that happened before. But moving forward, he has to daven with a complete surety, because what is bitachon comes from security, right? So we're sure that Hashem is going to give it to us. That's why I had my husband's kaput and his hat in the car, right? Because Hashem, I know you're doing this for me. I want to show you even more how I know. I'm putting his hat and jacket in the car. Just call me whenever you're ready, and I'm going, right? So, what? So that's, when we have that surety, when we say, Hashem only wants complete good for us. Hashem wants more for us than we want for ourselves. But we sometimes get into this thing, and that's completely from the Yetzer Hara. You cannot turn off your mind, but you could change the channel. So when it starts getting to those kind of places, which it's human nature to do that. It's not, because it's kind of like a defense mechanism. Like you want to just like get on with it. You want to know that whatever you're asking Hashem to give us he's going to give it to us. But it seems like it's 8.5 years. You could imagine. So no, I'm not going there. First of all, the Shar B'Tachon tells you that the Eibishter wants to give you whether you deserve it or you don't deserve it, right? Where's the Shar B'Tachon majors? Who's the Shar B'Tachon major? Hashem. It's okay. No seconds. In the Chavis Levav, he writes in Shar B'Tachon that the Eibishter wants to give you whether you deserve it or you don't deserve it, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we don't have to start saying, oh, maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe this is not meant to be for me, whatever. Hashem wants to give us more than we even want to take it or know how to ask him. But we just have to do our part, and we have to say, okay, Hashem, you're the third partner. I have no money. I have no food. What am I going to feed these kids? They got up already once. I sent them back to bed, like this story that I'm referring to. We have to feed them something. So could you give me a hand here? And so in that story, some guy comes in and orders some food, and he says he doesn't have food. So he says, here's money. Go to town, buy food, and bring it back, and keep the change. And the Eibishter gave him the way the Eibishter knows how to give. But that's the trick. It's very tricky because on one hand, Hashem says you have to do your hishtadlus. You have to make a keli, right? But really the keli is just to keep us busy. The keli is just to make us feel like we're doing something. Because really the bracha, we're not making money because husbands are going to work or we're going to work. We're making money because Rosh Hashanah, Hashem said, this is the amount of money you're getting, and he has to make it come from somewhere. So you go to work and you get a paycheck or whatever. But how many times the other things happen and it subsidizes the paycheck, right? Like something happens, you get a good tax return, or a parent will send you a present, a check as a present, or whatever the situation is. And where did that come from? They all come from the same place. Hashem just uses different. The problem is, like I said before, the props are so good. We get so busy with like the Gashmias that we actually think we're doing something. You know what I'm saying? So, but the tightrope is that we're supposed to do, but we're supposed to understand that it's really all Hashem. So it's very tricky. Oftentimes I would come to my husband, and I'm not really a big Tehillim sayer, but I would say to him, like, can't we just sit and say Tehillim? Like, what do we have to go with these lawyers and the courts and that's gunning and all the different efforts that we did? Like, really, it's all Hashem anyway. Let's just really dive into him, and he'll give it to us. So he said, listen, Hashem says you have to do your shtadlus. You have to make that keli. You don't really, you can't just sit and twiddle your thumbs waiting for the month to come down. But Hashem, really wants to give us beyond. Whether it's a chassan or a baby or parnasa or a shlichus or a freedom or whatever it is. It's always there for us. We just have to reach out. Yeah.
So my question is like, how do you get to that level of surety? Like, really you could get your mind to be like, okay, people start to trust you, but it's not fully set.
So these are the two things I spoke about. One is to really learn. It's simple, very simple. One is to really learn, and if you feel like B'Tachon is the area you really have to strengthen, get a hold of. There's different booklets, there's different svarim, there's in good hands. The Rebbe in Sukkos in English, we have a bunch of things. in good hands. And there's another book about the Baal Shem Tov. I forget it's from the quote of the Baal Shem Tov, that we're like a ben Yachid to Hashem, a father to a only child or something. I don't know, something like that. Sichos in English has a few really amazing letters from the Rebbes and Sichos from the Rebbe. And then there's trillions of books out there about Emunah and Bitachon. And the more you learn them, and the more you listen to stories, and the more you read letters from the Rebbe, and the more you indoctrinate, not like just put into yourself. You know, the thing about Bitachon is very interesting. I don't know if he brings it up here, but when a person has to have Bitachon for something, this is just a Chavos Levavos. When a person like has to have Bitachon about an Inyan in his life, they're like using up that energy. And it needs to be replenished. So when you're going through a hard time, you know how people say they're living day to day, they're living minute to minute, all these different phrases? Sometimes you need to replenish that koiches in order to keep going, because it took so much energy out of you to live that day that you don't know how tomorrow going to be, because you're just like exhausted. So the idea is that you have to replenish, you have to keep learning, you have to just keep giving into yourself. And then you have to open your eyes and see, wow, you know, I was feeling like I'm alone, like Hashem doesn't really like get what I'm going through. And yet I see that although this thing didn't clear up yet, I'm seeing unbelievable things in different areas. And once you see that Hashem is so like with you, like in this Sukkah, he's really with us, then you think like, wow, you know what? That's really powerful. And if Hashem is really close to me like that, I want to be close to him. And I want to show him that I believe that he's doing the best for me, and he's like, he's there for me. You know what I'm saying? And just because I didn't get, you know, I have a special needs son, Moshe, and we learned something. I'm sure it's in Chassidus somewhere, but they put it in such a good way. They said you're supposed to shoot for the stars. Have special needs kids, you're supposed to just not put them in a little box of what they could do and what they can't do. Shoot for the stars. Believe that anything is possible. Want it to happen, but don't need it to happen. That means that if it came tonight and my husband was still in a place called prison, I didn't fall apart because I was davening that he should just come home today. I didn't fall apart and say, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. I don't need it to happen for my, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? You want it to happen, and it's like your biggest desire and your biggest want and your biggest dream that it should happen. But if it doesn't happen this second, doesn't mean it's not happening. It means that this second, for whatever reason, Hashem thought it's not the right time. I still didn't figure out why, you know, we ended up 8.5 years, but that's okay. It's all over. And we're building on that time that we had that Nisayon. We're using it out to help our shluchas along and to get Mashiach here. But if you don't get it that second, you don't have to lose it. You have to know, okay, Hashem didn't want this second, it's going to be the next second. So want something to happen, but don't make it like a prerequisite of why you're going to be doing whatever you're doing in your ruchnius. You know what I'm saying? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm sorry answering my second question.
Okay, good.
Can I answer that? I mean, like,
yeah, sure.
Like
we can explore.
Answered it. My second question was, how did you not get cheated?
How did I not get
Cheated? Like with 8.5 years, like you had worked so hard to do that. Like you see, like
well,
I'll
tell you something. It's similar. I'll tell you the truth. People ask me now, wow, you must be so excited. 8.5 years. I mean, you probably thought your husband's going to be away for like 27 years. Like 8.5 years is nothing. And I say, you kidding me? 8.5 years? I thought he would be out like the next day. Like I lived in my headspace was like every minute it was happening. And I mamish lived like that. More in the beginning, even then towards the end. I remember Erev Shabbos, we would buy like things that my husband liked on Shabbos, like what he liked to eat or whatever. Like I went to my away for Pesach, I would take his kapata and his stuff just in case he showed up in the middle. Like I really tried to live in that space where it could happen at any moment. Because really, no, it wasn't me. I mean, what happens is first they think you're crazy, but then they buy into it because they see that you're living a lot better than they're living. They're living in a depression, and they're living like they can't take it anymore. And I'm living like, okay, it didn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. It's like not a whatever. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. And I really tried to, and my husband helped with that. Like, we didn't come to him and see like a depressed guy, like crying when we left, like whatever. He was sharing what he was learning inside. I mean, he was like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the cave, you know. I mean, he was like maybe Yosef in the pit with scorpions, and I don't know. He was like in a crazy place, but he used it to really like nonstop learning, no financial responsibilities, no problems that he had to worry about from that aspect. Yeah, he was just learning all the time. It's funny. It sounds funny, but that's what he was doing. He was learning. He was being part of the Yidden. He was spending time. He had a couple of from Yidden there. He was making them learn Rambam and like doing Mifsayim there. And yeah, he had Sfarim, Baruch Hashem. Some of them had to go into what they call the chapel. They had like a area for Yiddish books, so that got packed up now, like with tons of Sfarim. But I mean, we just tried to live in a headspace that was full of bitachon. It says Yeshua Hashem Kaherafayin, right? That the Yeshua could come in the blink of an eye. Hashem could help you in a second, right? How is that possible? So Chassidus explains very easily, because we believe that Hashem is recreating the world every second. So 1 second, my husband could be in a place called prison, and the next second could be coming home, and that is what happened at the end. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh, his sentence was over, he went home. No, it wasn't like that. And we lived in this reality that what the judge said, I mamish did not say the words 27 years out of my mouth before my husband came home, and even after he came home, till I don't have time to share this other Dvar Torah with you, but incredible Dvar Torah about these kind of things. But we lived in Hashem's reality. We knew that Hashem could do anything at any time, and that's what we were putting our trust in. We didn't.
You even let yourself into it.
We did not. Yeah, we did not. No, I didn't.
It's just by constantly learning.
Yeah, by learning different things, by knowing that Hashem only gives you what you can handle. So I knew, okay, my limit is home with the kids, and he can handle a little bit harder, so he's in that place. And it's interesting because we both felt like the other person had it harder. My husband felt like, oh yeah, I'm stuck, I'm busy trying to raise the kids, and I have the parnasa, like the money is situation, and everything around running a household is all on my head. And he's there, but he has no, whatever. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm home with the kids, Baruch Hashem, in my own house with my own kids, and he's there with these, I can't even describe to you what kind of people he was with, Like, so we each felt each other's pain was more than our own, you know what I'm saying? And we just didn't go there, because things don't happen by mistake. And we knew that Hashem wanted him to be there the time that he was there, and sent him home exactly when he was meant to. A lot of times we feel like we messed up, so this is why this happened. We like all kinds of things that we get ourselves involved in the picture. And of course, we are responsible for our actions, but Hashem is so much bigger than that. Hashem is not like, it's not a tit for tat kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Hashem is giving us nisyanis to help us grow into the people that he wants us to be, or that our tafkid is to become. Hashem knows our tafkid, and he's giving us situations along the way to help us to grow in different situations. And it's not just with hard or bad things that we have these tests. A person could be given millions of dollars, and what is he going to do with them now? What is he going to do with the money? Is he going to become a snob and not talk to any of his friends anymore? Is he going to be building this glorious house and forget about all the institutions or aniyim? Or there's tests along the way. People have tons of kids, such a bracha for a person that doesn't have any. But for that person, it's in the science to raise them and to feed them and to clothe them and to send them to camp and to seminary and to all these things that are like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but Hashem gives us exactly what we need to get in order to grow in the way that we need to grow. So, Emertz Hashem, we should all grow. We should feel the hug of Hashem and understand that he loves us more than we even love ourselves, and he wants to give us more than we even want to take, and we should just have the Geula Shlema. Yeah.
Yes.
No problem.
You might take a picture with us.
Mm.
That'd be okay? You
Sure.
can sit over here.
I should sit here,
Yeah.
and everyone will sit.
Everyone will sit.
Okay.
And then I want to tell you something, because remember what you said about you just said it about the glasses that you put
Yeah,
on
yeah,
glasses. So our logo is
Oh, I
based
see,
on
glasses.
Hashem glasses. Does
Oh,
Hashem
very good.
echad? So we see,
Excellent.
the more we learn Chassidus, we're able to live Chassidus,
Mamish.
and that's what it does. So
I
thank
have
you
to
for
tell you, whenever I go speaking to like Litvish or Hasidic groups, and I tell them the most like fundamental things that our kids learn in school, like Hasidic concepts, whatever, they're like, wow, that's amazing. That gives me such a kayak. I can't believe it. Like the things that we have, like so, it's amazing. Anyways, I have to go to my next thing.
Yeah.
Even that where we have enough for that we have.
everybody in.
Oh yeah.
We have everyone in. Everybody smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Yay!
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
ladies. Enjoy.
Would you like your notes? This is Rubashkin. Would you like your notes?
Thank you. Yes, we should definitely.